Here we have a new refreshed 2023 Nissan Altima. And this Altima comes in the beautiful gray sky pearl. And then we have our black sport cloth and leatherette interior. And this one is going to be a 2.5 liter naturally aspirated 4-cylinder mated with a CVT, getting you 188 horsepower, 180 pound-feet of torque. And this one's gonna come in that 2.5 SR trim level. And as we get to the front end here, we have the LED signature daytime running lights along with the LED headlamps. And I really like how they did this grille here, nice and big. And then you've got that sick SR badge in there. I'm so glad they did that. Really makes a huge difference for the front end, even though it's just a slight refresh. Things like that really make it stand out. And of course, with the updated headlamps, just a really good looking car. And then down here, we have 19-inch aluminum wheels. And I even like how they put the SR kind of embossed in that wheel. Just really cool. And this gray sky pearl is just a beautiful color. We get passive keyless entry on the front two doors. And then over here we have the controls for our power windows, power door locks, and power mirrors. Then you have a one-touch up and down for the driver's side. Cup holder there, little storage in there as well. And then there we have our power driver seat. It's gonna be 8-way. Now, before I forget, let's go ahead and take a look at this window sticker. And I want to give a huge shout out to John Roberts Nissan for allowing me to review this vehicle today. But there we have all of our standard features. And I really like how you get Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, and the Nissan Safety Shield 360 is standard. And for this paint color, it's only $395 for that option. Definitely worth it in my opinion. And here's the back door panel there. Pretty decent storage. Let's hop in here. Yeah, very impressive legroom back here. I'm 6'3", and I have the seat adjusted for someone of my size and how I like to drive up front there. So very, very impressed here. And I still have about ½ an inch to an inch of headroom. And then down here we have a USB-C and a USB-A charging port. Always nice to have. And we have pockets in the back of the seats here. Well, just in the back of the passenger seat, excuse me. And then there we have our center seat that folds down. You have cup holders there. Let's go ahead and check out the trunk space. So before we pop the trunk, there's our back end there and an identical rear end for this 23. And I like the sound from that dual exhaust. And a generous trunk size here. We have floor mats as well that come with this particular model, along with an emergency roadside kit. And then of course you can hang grocery bags here, pull this here to fold down the back seat. And I'm gonna show you how that looks. So when the seat right here is up far enough, this will fold flat, and then you can pull things through here if you have long pieces of wood or want extra storage that you want to be flat. And here's our front passenger seat there. And I love how you have the leatherette bolster and then you have that cloth insert there. Really nice look. And I will say I do like that you get the rear side airbags in this Altima. A lot of vehicles have kind of tried to shy away from using so many airbags, but I like that you still have those rear side airbags in this one. Of course, they help with your crash test rating. But I just like having extra protection for my rear seat passengers. Let's go ahead and pop this hood. And then we have that 2.5 liter naturally aspirated 4-cylinder. And I love how easy that is to close, and a nice thud to it. Let's go ahead and hop in the driver's seat here. It's a nice leather wrap, flat bottom steering wheel here. I love how Nissan has done these, of course. I've said that in many of my other reviews. But over here to the radio, we have AM, FM, XM along with Bluetooth. And like I said earlier, you also get that Apple CarPlay, Android Auto too. And then we have our backup camera with guidelines, and as you turn the steering wheel, the guidelines will follow you to show you where you're headed. And it's nice to have those rear parking sensors too. Here's a look at our home page. And you can customize the actual menu there. Then you can set up your vehicle data transmission, as well as a few other features. And I'll show you your info there. Now, one thing I will say is, I believe the higher trim level Altimas do have a new screen, and I kind of wish that that was here. I'm going to test one of those out hopefully later in the week, but just still a little, it's a simple system, easy to use, just a little slow for my taste, but for under 30 grand, can't really complain. And here we have our AC controls here. Then down here, USB-C, USB-A, and an aux input. And these USB ports, of course, are what you can use to use your Android Auto or Apple CarPlay. Then a 12-volt charger there. And our shifter here, we just hit the button behind, reverse, neutral, drive. And we can go into low mode there. And then we have paddle shifters as well behind the steering wheel if you want to manually shift that way. 2 cup holders here. Decent sized center console cubby space. Nothing that's getting in the way, just a really nice space there. And I really do wish that we could get LED dome lights, but they're fine. Put your sunglasses in there. Pretty good size to put bigger glasses. And there's a view of the back seat from up here. And there we have our glove compartment, which is actually a very, very nice size there. Now to the steering wheel here, we use these 4 arrows to go through our gauge cluster. And I like that we have a digital center there, and then we have actual analog gauges on either side. And then we have our track list or radio station preset controls here. Volume controls here, back button there, and then to the right side we have our cruise controls and then voice recognition controls here. Headlamp controls, windshield wiper controls, and then we have our push button start. And finally, here's our key fob with remote start. But next it's time to go ahead and take this 2023 Nissan Altima 2.5 SR out on the road for a quick test drive. So really good acceleration under light throttle. And of course, a lot of that has to do with the CVT, just giving you that linear power curve without having to worry about shift points. And ride quality is pretty good, just a tad bouncy, but not uncomfortable at all. And one thing I do love about these flat bottom steering wheels, it really does make it easier to drive, and you can really get a feel for handling this vehicle. And that brake pedal feel is perfect. And what I like about, in the SRs in particular, being able to have the sport suspension really does, it makes you feel like you could take this car to the track. It really does. Even though it's front wheel drive and it's a naturally aspirated 4-cylinder, still very fun to drive, especially for the price point. And of course, if you want to put upgrades or modifications on there, you're welcome to do that as well, and that will definitely help your overall driving experience. If you just want a commuter car that you want to feel sporty in sometimes, this is perfect. And you get 37 miles per gallon hot on the highway, and I think you get 26, 27 in the city. Very impressive. And comparing it to other vehicles in the segment like the Malibu, the Camry, with the interior on this one that's kind of outgoing from the older models before the refresh, so your 1920s, 21s, I would definitely side with the Chevrolet or the Toyota. But like I said, once I get a look at that new interior for 23, I'll probably be pretty impressed. And I'm not sure if I'll like it better than the other two, but like I said, this infotainment system is just kind of meh. But I mean, you still get your Apple CarPlay, Android Auto standard, which is nice. And of course, having your Bluetooth, XM, nice to have that as well. Just a bit dated in my taste. And even with Toyota too, you have to get the upgraded sound system for that to even, or the upgraded infotainment system. Otherwise, this Nissan system kind of tops Camrys and Corollas and all the Toyota stock system. But I will say, when it comes to steering wheels, Nissan is certainly my favorite, just because the flat bottom really, and a really good sporty feel. And I'm not really a big fan of CVT, so in terms of the powertrain, compared to the Malibu and the Camry, I do like having the 8-speed automatic in the Camry. And then I like having the 1.5 liter turbo engine as opposed to the naturally aspirated 2.5s from Camry and Altima. But let's give it some throttle here. will say the CVT is so well tuned, because Nissan has probably more experience than anybody with this transmission. It feels really good as opposed to the Malibu CVT. Just very quick to get to that perfect rev point. If no one's behind me, I'm gonna test these paddle shifters out. So of course you're not actually shifting it because it's a CVT, you're kind of hitting rev points from the transmission. So let's see how that does. Okay, that's pretty fun. And I will say, as you get higher in the RPMs, this thing does put out pretty well. And I do like the exhaust note. I wish it was just a tad louder, but very nice sound. And coming down the interstate here, pretty comfortable. And as you can see, underneath the steering wheel, I have plenty of space to move my legs. And I like how wide the seat is. The seat is actually wider than I've gotten in some bigger SUVs, so I'm impressed by that. And just a really easy car to manage on the road. And on this smooth stretch of interstate, the sport suspension really doesn't, I guess, mess with how I feel about driving this. On rougher roads, it does tend to get a bit bouncy because it is a sport suspension, but here on the highway, really smooth ride. And I took that corner kind of hard. I really like how this kind of sticks to the road, as I give it just a little bit of power through corners. I'm gonna give it a little throttle here. Yeah, really good acceleration for this kind of vehicle. Well, this is going to bring me to an end of my review of the new 2023 Nissan Altima 2.5 SR.